He was live. Thousands of people were watching. Nothing unusual. Just another stream. Until someone noticed the tab. One browser tab. That wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't a game. It wasn't YouTube. It wasn't Twitter. It was deepfake porn. Real women. Fake bodies. And a technology that had already gone too far. In less than 30 seconds, a reputation collapsed. Careers were damaged. And the internet realized something terrifying. This wasn't a scandal. This was a warning. At first, nothing about deepfake porn felt urgent. There was no breaking news banner, no emergency headlines, no single moment where society collectively stopped and said, "This is dangerous." Instead, it arrived quietly, blended into the background noise of the internet. For most people, it sounded like a technical issue, something abstract, something distant. For years, the problem was easy to ignore because it felt impersonal. It happened somewhere else, to people you didn't know, to faces without names. And as long as that distance existed, society stayed comfortable. But technology doesn't wait for comfort. As AI tools became simpler, faster, and cheaper, something changed fundamentally. Creating deepfake porn no longer required expertise. No advanced software, no technical background, just access, just intent. And that's when the scale exploded. What was once rare became accessible. What was once hidden became repeatable. What was once shocking became routine. This wasn't just a technology problem anymore. It became a power problem. Who had the ability to create, and who had absolutely no control over how their image was used? For the first time, people understood something deeply unsettling. You didn't need to be famous. You didn't need a public platform. You didn't need to consent. You just needed a face. Photos stopped feeling harmless. Old selfies, group pictures, public profiles. Things people had shared without fear suddenly felt exposed. And trust started to erode. Not just trust in technology, but trust in reality itself. If images could be fabricated so easily, what could still be believed? This wasn't outrage yet. It was something quieter, a slow realization spreading beneath the surface. And then, the distance disappeared. Because the next cases wouldn't involve anonymous faces. They would involve people everyone recognized. That's when the internet stopped ignoring the problem and started watching closely.
Deepfake porn did not spread because people were fascinated by artificial intelligence. It spread because no one stopped it. At first, it lived on the edges of the internet. Small communities, hidden forums, places most people never looked. And because it was out of sight, it felt easy to ignore. Social platforms didn't create deepfake porn, but they gave it something essential: scale. Private groups multiplied quietly, encrypted chats, closed servers, invitation-only spaces where faces were exchanged like files. No headlines, no warnings, no friction. In the beginning, the targets were predictable: celebrities, streamers, public figures, famous women whose faces were already everywhere. People told themselves it was different. That fame came with a cost. That attention erased consent. It was a lie that felt comfortable. Because once the tools became easy, the boundaries collapsed. The technology didn't stay exclusive. It didn't stay underground. And it didn't stay aimed at the powerful. The targets changed. Students, co-workers, ex-partners, friends, regular people who never asked to be part of anything public. You didn't need technical knowledge anymore. You didn't need expensive software. You didn't need access. All it took was a photo, a profile picture, a selfie, an image taken without thinking twice. A few clicks later, something irreversible existed. And once it existed, it spread faster than truth ever could. For the victims, the damage was instant. There was no warning, no notification, no preparation, just a message, a link, or worse, silence, followed by people acting differently. Explanations came too late. Screenshots had already been saved, copies already downloaded. And unlike other forms of digital harm, there was no way to reset. You couldn't change your face. You couldn't prove what never happened. You couldn't delete what other people stored. The internet remembered even when platforms pretended not to. Most platforms responded the same way. They waited. They asked victims to report individual links. They asked for proof of harm. They asked for patience. But deepfake content doesn't behave like normal content. It moves. It reappears. It gets reposted under different names. By the time one link was removed, 10 more existed. Victims were told to chase shadows. And while they chased, the damage continued. This wasn't a technical failure. The systems worked exactly as designed. Engagement stayed high. Users stayed active. Platforms avoided responsibility. What failed was the social response. No urgency. No early intervention. No meaningful deterrence. Because stopping it would have meant slowing growth. And slowing growth was never the priority. Deepfake porn normalized itself quietly, not through shock, not through headlines, but through repetition. The more it appeared, the less shocking it felt. The more it existed, the more invisible it became. And once something becomes normal online, it stops feeling wrong to the people who aren't harmed by it. For victims, the consequences didn't stay digital. Reputation damage, isolation, fear, jobs were affected, relationships changed, trust collapsed. Some people stopped posting photos entirely. Others deleted accounts that had existed for years, not because they wanted to disappear, but because staying visible felt dangerous. This is the part most discussions avoid. Deepfake porn doesn't just exploit technology. It exploits silence. Silence from platforms. Silence from bystanders. Silence from systems that move too slowly to protect anyone. It became a social crisis not because the technology was unstoppable, but because responsibility was optional. And when responsibility is optional, harm scales faster than accountability. Deepfake porn didn't become mainstream by accident. It became mainstream because ignoring it was easier than confronting it. And once something like this spreads unchecked, it doesn't stay confined to one corner of the internet. It becomes part of everyday life. And that is what made it dangerous. Part 4. When it can happen to anyone. For a long time, people believed deepfake porn was a niche problem, something distant, something that happened to other people. That belief didn't survive reality, because once the tools escaped closed communities, once they became simple, fast, and accessible, the threat stopped being abstract. You didn't need to be famous. You didn't need followers. You didn't need visibility. You just needed a face. And suddenly the question wasn't if this could happen, but when. For many victims, the first moment was disbelief.
This can't be real. There must be a mistake. Someone will fix this.
But deepfake porn doesn't wait for understanding. It spreads before explanations form. It exists before consent can even be discussed. And once it exists, the burden shifts instantly. Not to the creator, not to the platform, to the victim. Victims were expected to prove innocence, to explain what never happened, to defend themselves against something artificial. That felt real to everyone else. The psychological weight was heavy, not just fear, but anticipation. The fear of who had seen it, The fear of who might see it next. The fear of never knowing. And unlike other forms of harassment, there was no timeline, no moment when it passed, no closure, just uncertainty. Some victims described it as losing ownership of their own identity. Their face no longer felt like theirs. Their image no longer felt safe. And the law wasn't ready. In many places, deepfake porn existed in a legal gray zone, not clearly illegal, not clearly defined. Platforms pointed to policies, governments pointed to process, everyone pointed somewhere else. Meanwhile, the technology kept improving. Better realism, faster generation, fewer mistakes. Which meant the line between fake and real became harder to see. Soon, even experts struggled to tell the difference. And when you can't tell the difference, truth stops being a shield. This is where the danger deepens, because deepfake porn isn't just about explicit images, it's about power. The power to humiliate, the power to silence, the power to rewrite someone's reality without permission. And power, once discovered, spreads. What started as exploitation became a weapon, used in harassment, used in revenge, used to intimidate. Some victims stayed silent, not because they were weak, but because speaking up made everything worse. And silence became another layer of harm. The truth is uncomfortable. Deepfake porn didn't expose a flaw in AI alone. It exposed a flaw in how society reacts to harm that doesn't leave bruises. When damage is invisible, it's easy to pretend it's not real. Until it happens close enough. To a friend, to a colleague, to someone you know. And at that point, it's already too late. Because prevention requires attention, and attention only comes after impact. This is the moment we're in now. The technology exists, the damage is documented, the victims are real. What happens next isn't about AI, it's about choices. Do platforms act before harm spreads, or after headlines force them to? Do laws adapt to reality, or stay frozen while technology moves on? And do we treat this as entertainment or as a warning? Because the next victim won't be chosen by fame, they'll be chosen by access, a photo, a face, a moment of trust. And once it happens, the internet will remember, even if everyone else chooses not to. This isn't the future, it's already here.